Hi everybody, welcome back to Cooking with Katrina. So this episode, I was trying to think of something summery and I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And then my uncle came with a huge bag, and by bag I mean bags, of vegetables from his garden. I love my uncle, he's constantly bringing me vegetables. And he brought a lot of cucumbers and I was like, let's do something with cucumbers. A lot of people have gardens. Cucumbers are just a staple in most people's gardens around here. So I figured we would just make some simple, easy recipes with cucumbers that you can do, because if anybody has a garden with cucumbers, you probably have a ton of them right now and you're trying to figure out what to do with them and you don't want to just keep making pickles. So we're gonna make a cucumber cold soup. So we're gonna make a cucumber gazpacho, and then we are going to make a cucumber mint lemonade, and then we are also going to make a cucumber watermelon salad. So we're gonna start out with the cucumber gazpacho because we need to put it in the refrigerator to chill. So for this, what you're gonna wanna do is you basically want about two, fairly good sized cucumbers, but depending on how your garden is producing stuff, you may not have two this size. So I've got one this size, and then I've got just like 3 small ones. Kind of can do whatever. So what we're gonna do, so we need, again, cucumbers. We need about 2 handfuls of basil, and I do herbs, so I had a ton of basil. So I got some basil. You need an avocado. You need a small sweet Vidalia onion, and we are going to do 2 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna do a larger clove and a smaller clove. And then we also need the juice of a lime. Once we put this in, the cucumbers obviously are very watery once you put it in the thing. We are gonna potentially need to add a little bit more water just to get the consistency that we want. So I do have a little bit of water here that we can add in. So again, this is going in the food processor. Nothing needs to be cut perfectly. It just needs to be cut enough so the blades can get through it. So we're just gonna roughly chop the onion and we're just gonna put it in here. Just like that, nothing special. And we don't want this to be completely liquidy. We're gonna want it to be a little chunky. I don't know if anyone's ever made gazpacho before. A lot of people use a tomato-based gazpacho. It's still a little, it's not liquidy, it's a little bit, got a little chunk to it. We're just gonna take the cloves of garlic and we're gonna put those right in. We're gonna leave the skin on the cucumbers. It's gonna give a little bit more flavor and a little bit more texture, but we're really just gonna roughly chop the cucumber, and we're just gonna cut the very tip off just because that's where the stem was. And put those in there. Everyone has a different size food processor, so you just wanna make sure you're not overfilling. Oh, and also just so you know, these are a little dirty, so these were pre-rinsed. So if you're making this at home, you want to make sure that you're pre-rinsing and kind of cleaning the cucumbers off, because they probably are going to have dirt and stuff on them. Okay. So we are going to just put the cucumber in there. Now we're going to go on to the next one. Got that piece. Ends off. And again, this one's small. Put that in. So now we're kind of getting up to the top a little bit here. So what we're going to do is we are going to just cover it up, and we're just going to pulse it a couple times just so it kind of gets down. So excuse the noise for a second. Okay. So we didn't do it fully, but just enough so we had a little bit more room. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the avocado in. So we're just going to score around the avocado. There's a big pit in there so you can feel it. Then we're going to twist. Now, you can use a spoon or a fork. I have this neat little avocado scoopery thing that I wanted to use, so it just goes around and pops it out. I'm gonna pop it right in there. Same thing with this one. Get the pit out. And again, we're just gonna scoop right around. I'm not cutting this up. Again, the food processor is pretty much gonna take care of it. Just gonna put it in there. And now we're gonna take some, so for the basil, you just want like 2 kind of like handfuls of the basil. And we actually may not need to use these other 2 cucumbers. It's getting a little full. So we're gonna put some basil in there and we are going to pulse it again. Okay, so we definitely are gonna have room for the other ones. It gets down there pretty good. So, back to the other cucumbers. And then we are gonna put the rest of the basil in, and then we're gonna squeeze the lime juice in there. And then once we pulse that, we're just gonna add a little bit of the water because it's not quite the consistency yet that we're looking for. Put the rest of the basil in. But we want to keep that in so the food doesn't fly up. We're going to pulse it one more time and then add the lime juice. All right. So I don't know if anyone knows a trick to getting the limes to juice pretty good. You kind of hit it on the counter and then roll. It loosens up the citrusy stuff and the little juice packets and stuff inside there. And then it'll be easier to get the juice out. We're just going to slice that. And we are going to squeeze the lime juice. I forgot my little citruser at home, so I'm gonna push my fingers around inside just to make sure we get it all out. All right. Now we're just gonna take a little bit of the water. I'm not gonna pour it all in yet just because I'm not sure what it's gonna be when I'm done. I don't want it to just be overly watery. Just gonna get some of the extra stuff off there. Okay, one more time. I think we're gonna add a tiny little bit more of the water, and then we should be good. Perfect. So now what we need to do is we've got to take this off. It has to chill for a little bit. So we're actually going to go put it in the refrigerator while we get all the other stuff going, and then we'll take it out when we're ready to serve it. Okay, so now we're going to go over and start the cucumber lemonade. So for this we need just like one fairly large cucumber. We're going to do 3 jumbo-sized lemons. You know, get a little bit more juice out of those. And then we've got 1 small lemon, but that's more for garnish once we put it in here. So if you don't have the jumbo-sized lemons, you're probably gonna wanna do like maybe 6 of the small ones and then 1 for garnish. And then we have a small handful of mint. We have a 1/2 cup of sugar, and we also have seltzer water. And it's non-flavored, just plain bubbly water. So first what we're gonna do is we are going to cut the cucumber kind of in half. Now we're gonna leave this for garnish. We're gonna slice it, we're gonna put it in there afterwards. So for this, so simple. Again, cut the end off. And again, we're gonna roughly chop these. Nothing fancy. We're gonna put them in the saucepan. we are also going to cut the lemons in half. And it's okay if the seeds from the lemons get in there, because we're actually gonna strain the liquid afterwards with this little like mesh strainer. So none of this stuff is gonna actually go into there except for the juice. So I forgot my juicer, so I'm using a fork. So we're squeezing, and I'm just making sure I get all the juice out. So I'm just going around, pushing, getting all the juice. And again, we're gonna do this with three of the lemons. So with the larger lemons, they're quite a bit more tart than the small lemons. So if you're used to using the little ones, you may notice this is a little bit tartar, like I said, I guess, but they're supposed to be like that. Okay, so we've got the lemon juice in there. Now we're gonna take a handful of mint leaves. We're gonna put those in there. And then we are going to take the half a cup of sugar. And that is going to go in there. No idea why it's stuck like that, but okay. Now we are going to turn the burner on. And we're gonna put it on like medium high. And what we're gonna do is stir this up just so the sugar gets all around. And we're gonna let this like cook for a little bit. We're gonna let it get hot. And what it's gonna do is it's going to take the lemon juice and it's gonna extract all of the flavors from the cucumber and the mint. So it's gonna make a nice liquid, and that is what is gonna go into the lemonade. So while this is on cooking, we are going to scoot over to the other side and start with our watermelon salad. Okay, so we're gonna make the cucumber watermelon salad. So for this, I've got just one of the mini watermelons, and we're actually not even gonna use, it's not even quite the whole thing for the size I'm doing here, but you can use a whole large watermelon if you'd like, depending on the size. And then we've just got some small little cucumbers. We've got a little handful of mint leaves. We have a lime for juice, crumbled feta, some honey, and some olive oil. So the lime juice, the honey, the olive oil, and the mint leaves are gonna be for the dressing for it. So we're gonna mix those over in the bowl. But so what we're gonna do first is we are going to cut up the watermelon. And we're not needing to totally do anything fancy. We're just gonna slide in there, cut it out. I'm gonna try and make it look fairly nice. No rind. And we're just going to cut it into little squares. They're not gonna be perfect squares, but small pieces, just like this. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Might need to be a little bit smaller than that, actually. Don't want any huge pieces in there. We're just gonna put those in the bowl. So with the watermelon, I usually just kind of cut it, and then I just kind of scoop from the bottom with the knife. It usually comes out pretty easily. Again, we're just kind of roughly cutting them. Doesn't need to be perfect. Just gonna move that over there. Same thing on this side. No rinds. Cut it up. Put it in there. So this I'm kind of excited about. I like honey. I think honey makes everything taste good. So this should be a good, fresh, refreshing salad if you're having a barbecue or anything going on this summer. Watermelon is always a good hit at barbecues, I feel like. All right, and then just this last section here. Okay, so we're all set with the watermelon. Rind on that one. So now we're just gonna take the cucumber, and again, we just wanna make sure that there's no weird spots on the end. And we are literally, because these are small, we're just gonna cut them like this. If you had a larger one, you could maybe slice it in half and then cut it, but these we're just gonna leave like this. And it doesn't have to be any perfect thickness or anything like that. Put it in there. And I think the colors go well together too. Like just adding the colors in there. But the color of the cucumber is similar to the rind on the watermelon. So they complement each other, so it's pretty. And again, for this one, there's no specific amount you need to use. You can kind of just do it per the size. So we're just gonna quickly come back over here and stir, see how we're doing, see if it's getting hot. It's getting warm, but it's not hot enough. We need to kind of bring it to a boil and then let it simmer for a minute afterwards. So we're gonna go back over here, finish cutting the cucumber. And again, I know I mentioned this before, but these have been washed. You just don't want to get a bunch of dirt in the salad. And if you don't have a garden at home and you want to try any of these, obviously you can go to the grocery store. These are just basic cucumbers out of the garden, but you could get a European cucumber, same thing. So the European cucumbers typically don't have the seeds in them the way a cucumber out of the garden would. They're I mean, you can obviously grow a European cucumber, but the seeds are much, much smaller. Last one. Okay, so now all of that is in there. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to just scoot these over here for a minute. Actually, I need the cutting board again. So we're gonna take this smaller bowl and we're gonna get the stuff ready for the dressing. So I've got some mint leaves, and again, I have the herbs, so these are right from my herb garden. And we are just gonna roughly kind of chop the mint up. Got it all. Okay. And we're just going to put it in here. Try to get all of it. A couple extra pieces. And then we are going to take the lime. We're gonna do the same thing with the lime again. We're just gonna roll it to make sure we get the juice. And limes don't really have seeds in them the way lemons do, so you don't need to really worry about that in here. We are just going to squeeze this in. The other one. Sometimes I have to get up on my tiptoes. Okay, that is done. Now we are going to take some honey. I'm just gonna kind of eye this. You don't need a whole bunch, but you need a little bit, like maybe a tablespoon, maybe not even. So we've got some honey in there. And then the olive oil, we don't need a lot. We're just gonna drizzle a little bit in. A teaspoon maybe. And we are going to whisk that all together. And this isn't, I know this looks like a lot and this looks like a little, but it's not supposed to be doused in any sort of dressing. It's just to give it like a little bit of a hint of flavor on top of the other stuff, because we don't want to overpower the flavor of the other things in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the crumbled feta. Sometimes it comes in the bigger chunks. It's fine. I'm just going to break up a couple of the larger ones quickly. Put it in here. So this is a 6-ounce container. We're not going to use it all. Maybe like half. We don't want a lot in there depending on what you're using. For what I just did, we don't need that much. So, a little bit more. Throw it on the table here. Now what we're going to do is just pour this over. Should we get it all? And now we're just going to toss it. Kind of go under and just toss it over. Make sure everything kind of just gets dispersed throughout the salad. Okay, and it's pretty much done. Just a quick little toss. And we are going to serve this in a bowl now and put it out front there so everybody can see it. Just have a bowl. We are just going to take some. We're just going to scoop it into the bowl. This looks really good. I'm excited about this one. One more little scoop. We should be good. Okay, so we are going to set this right over here. That's all done. And now we're going to come back to this. It's actually getting pretty hot, so we're just going to give this another minute, if you can see the steam coming out. Okay, so that's hot, so we're going to turn that off. Everything's come together, so now what we're going to do is let it kind of just sit for a second, and we're going to get some of our stuff sliced to put for garnish in the pitcher. Now, the lemon, we want to make sure you rinse these really good because this is actually going to be sliced and put into the drink. So first what we're going to do is take the cucumber. We're just going to make very thin little circular slices. And just gonna set those right here. Now we're gonna do the same thing with the lemon. We're just gonna cut the end of the lemon off. Just gonna slice. More out of it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we've got this little mesh strainer. We're going to very carefully, the pan handle on this gets hot and I always forget. Very carefully, we are going to take this, we are going to dump it in here. So see, all of the liquid is going to go in, but none of the contents, like the cooked cucumber or the cooked leaves, none of that is going to go in there. Or any of the seeds. Just gonna push it down to make sure we got all of the juice out. Perfect. So now, what we are going to do is we are going to open up the seltzer water. Gotta be quick with those, sometimes they come out. And we're just gonna dump this. And we're just gonna dump it until it fills up the pitcher. Okay, couldn't quite fit it all in there, but that's fine. So now we've got this like sparkling lemonade. So what we are going to do, and again, that was warm. I forgot ice. So you're probably gonna wanna have some ice in there too. But we are just gonna take these and we are going to just drop all of this stuff in there just to make it look fancy. So now we've got the lemons and the rest of these. And now some mint leaves. And then we are just going to kind of do a little toss so they all get in there. Perfect. Okay, so now we're gonna pour some in the glasses. And again, you'd probably want to do this over ice. Now, last but not least, we're gonna go back to the refrigerator and we are going to take the chilled gazpacho out. We are gonna put some of that in a bowl. I'm just using this cute little bowl. And I've got my spoon that I brought. We are just going to put some right in here. So excited about this. Okay, and then I'm just gonna take a couple little tips from the basil plant and just throw them in there for garnish. And there we go, all cucumbered out. So we have the cucumber gazpacho, the cucumber watermelon salad, and the cucumber fizzy lemonade. So there you go, just some stuff to do with cucumbers out of your garden this summer if you're having some people over for a barbecue or for dinner or just for yourself, however you want to do it. But that's it, cucumbers, easy peasy. Thank you, and we will see you next time.